Welcome to the week ahead. We are broadcasting live from the All Asia Broadcasting Centre here in Bukit Jalil, Kuala Lumpur. This show explores the kind of events and kind of ideas that will take place over the next 7 days. For the second week of April, running from the 11th of April all the way until the 17th of April, we would have a rather slow week. I'm not going to lie, largely because on many fronts. From the economic front, after seeing the announcement of the retail sales, industrial production rates, we've also seen the unemployment rate being published last week in Malaysia. The next idea that will be presented is 2 weeks from now, which is the balance of trade, exports and imports trades as well. So from the economic data front, nothing's going to happen much. When it comes to the political sphere, nothing much also is going to be seen, particularly after we saw the special sitting of the Parliament discussing the anti-hopping bill that was presented to the Parliament. Now, I wouldn't speak much more about this because we've covered this at length last week, but moving forward, we're going to see a few other significant events taking place, namely the two debates that might not take place between the former Premier, Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak, as well as the Leader of Opposition, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, that might take place soon. Of course, there's also that whole notion of the keadilan debates that might take place, perhaps even on this station, namely the Saifuddin Nasution as well as Rafizi Ramli, the two Deputy President candidates coming in from two different sides of the same coin, I suppose. Both of them are indeed quite interesting characters to follow, to track, particularly when it comes to their political careers. But they both have slightly different ideas on how to support Datuk Sri Anwar moving forward. So those are the two kind of events that are taking place when it comes to the factors of pushing forward. So we move on to our first big story of the day, which is of course the reopening of Malaysia's economy. After Malaysia's transition into the endemic phase that was started on April 1st, we saw that the country's tourism sector is slowly opening up. We've even seen how some of the sectors related to tourism, such as hospitality, hoteliers, transportation, logistics, as well as education, is also taking up speed or picking up speed. Here on this segment, I want to show you a particular episode that we've aired very recently on the kind of ideas that was shared with us on this station. Take a look.
Apabila kita menuju ke arah endemik ni, dia berbeza dengan apa yang kita lalui 2 tahun lepas. Dan ini ada satu pengalaman yang baru bagi kami. Sebenarnya ramai pihak-pihak industri yang telah lama berhenti sebentar. Kita panggil berehat sebentar untuk dalam masa keadaan pandemik itu. Jadi apabila kita dibuka semula, banyaklah benda-benda yang patut kita menghadapi cabaran-cabaran yang tertentu. Terutama sekali kalau dengan bas. Kita membeli lebih kurang 6,000 bas di seluruh Malaysia. Dan bas-bas ni tidak bergerak dalam masa 2 tahun. Apabila tidak bergerak, kita kena nak start balik, kita kena buat renew road tax, insurans, dan juga kita kena repair. Tayar tu kadang-kadang kita duduk kat atas, ada parking kat atas padang dan ni tayar tu menggelembung, jadi kita kena ganti tayar tu. Satu bas lebih kurang 6 tayar. Ini ada antara dari yang cabaran yang kita hadapi, dan juga pekerja-pekerja. Kita tahu masa pandemik kita biarkan, kita terpaksa lepaskan pekerja-pekerja kita, dan pekerja-pekerja kita mencari rezeki dengan berniaga, dengan buat dengan berbagai-bagai pekerjaan lah. Dan apabila dibuka ni, kita menghadapi kekurangan pekerja. Jadi ini satu cabaran yang besar. Jadi itu sebab banyak hotel-hotel ni tidak boleh 100% buka ke pasaran untuk pelancong-pelancong. Mungkin 60%, 70% sebab tidak ada mempunyai kapasiti untuk memberi servis yang bagus. Jadi saya harap pihak kerajaan kita tengok bagaimana boleh mengurangkan beban-beban atau cabaran-cabaran ini dengan memberi sedikit ruang ataupun ruang untuk kita membawa pekerja-pekerja asing untuk sementara, bukannya untuk selama, untuk sementara. Dan mungkin pihak bank boleh kita restructure pinjaman-pinjaman itu untuk sementara kita memulihkan diri kita, dan apabila kita memulih, insya-Allah, sebab industri pelancongan ni industri low hanging fruit. Apabila kita dapatkan hasilnya, semua pihak boleh dapat manfaat. Bukan saja hotel, bukan saja travel agent, tapi semua pihak, terutama sekali komuniti tempatan, akan mendapat hasil daripada industri pelancongan. Berbanding industri pelancongan ini adalah nombor 3 sumber pendapatan untuk negara kita. Ketiga GDP 15% daripada sumber negara adalah daripada industri pelancongan. Jadi kita harus mementingkan industri pelancongan ini sebagai industri utama, bukan industri hiliran ataupun bukan industri sampingan.
Encik Zaidi, bergerak ke hadapan, apa mungkin jenis kerjasama ataupun engagement, sinergi yang boleh dilakukan khususnya buat Malaysia dan juga negara luar termasuklah China pada masa akan datang, khususnya untuk kita melihat kepada bagaimana pengalaman di China secara khususnya, bagaimana pemulihan industri pelancongan domestiknya boleh kita ikuti dan juga kerjasama jenis apa yang boleh kita rintiskan untuk memastikan industri pelancongan ini benar-benar pulih.
Jadi negara Malaysia ni adalah negara pelancong. Kita ni dikatakan top 20 destinations in the world. Jadi kita memerlukan pelancong-pelancong daripada luar, daripada antarabangsa. Dan rakyat kita pun suka melancong. Kalau kita lihat baru-baru ni penuh di negara-negara seperti negara Turki, negara Eropah, penuh dengan pelancong-pelancong Malaysia, rakyat Malaysia. Dan ini sebenarnya industri pelancongan adalah sangat berkembang sihat di negara kita. Maka harus kita memikirkan cara bagaimana kita nak ada kerjasama antara negara-negara supaya kita boleh jadikan KLI ini sebagai hak utama. Jangan kita hanya mengharapkan airport-airport yang lain, terutama airport di Singapura untuk memberi ataupun memberi kemudahan kepada pelancong kita. Tapi kita kena kuatkan KLI ini sebagai hak utama dan ini memerlukan insentif, memerlukan promosi untuk supaya syarikat-syarikat penerbangan daripada luar negara datang sini, bukan hanya datang membawa pelancong-pelancong dari luar negara, tetapi pelancong-pelancong kita pun boleh menikmati ataupun boleh berawat ke negara-negara lain. Ini satu inisiatif yang penting untuk kami di industri pelancongan.
As you can see, those conversations will continue to carry forward in the weeks to come because Malaysia is still moving forward towards the long road of endemicity. In fact, if I can quote the Health Minister, Khairi Jamaluddin argues that the path to endemicity is a long and arduous one. So perhaps we have to bear in mind, set expectations right when it comes to seeing how we can enter through the endemic phase. We'll go for one short break. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more on the week ahead. Welcome back. This is The Week Ahead. My name is Ibrahim Sani. We continue on discussing what might take place next week. Of course, the big idea is on the notion of Singapore reopening its borders into Malaysia. Singapore on the 17th of April is loosening up even further restrictions right now in their country. And how does this impact the kind of trans-relational behavior between those two countries? Those are the kind of ideas that we want to look at for moving forward. But our third big idea right now is, of course, how Malaysians are going to move ahead when it comes to expanding their wallet, trying to improve on their wallet sizes, and perhaps use digital technology to see how they can simplify their road to investing. Last week, I spoke to Ian Lloyd of Kenanga Investment Bank. He was talking about the robo-advisory product that Kenanga is launching, but at the same time, he was also talking about the kind of trajectory and trends that are leading towards Malaysians, particularly Malaysian youth, when it comes to using robo-advisors or technology to simplify their methods of investing. We've spoken at length on my sister show, NOTEPAD, on robo-advisory. Of course, we also want to talk at length about how we can use data technology to actually improve on how we invest. Here's a snippet of my conversation with Ian Lloyd on my show, NOTEPAD. Perhaps you can take through us the kind of journey that Kenanga is going through right now and perhaps try to see where we can simplify the concept of investing, perhaps through technology, perhaps through robo-advisory and many others.
Absolutely. I mean, you raised some really good points. I mean, financial literacy, financial preparedness around the world is always challenging for everyone. So I'm really excited to see some of these changes coming through from the government on how do we help improve financial literacy for Malaysians everywhere, right? It's a fantastic opportunity. And with technology coming through, with the launch of robo-advisors such as what we're doing at Kenanga today, I think this gives some great groundwork for people to take those first steps towards financial literacy, take those first steps towards financial independence as well. So Kenanga's been around for almost 50 years now. It's been a very award-winning stockbroking company, tremendous experience in developing wealth and developing investments. But we kept asking ourselves, how can we reach more people? How can we give them the products and services that they really need so they can take those steps towards financial literacy and financial independence? So we began over the last couple of months, last few years, to explore that in earnest. And that's where we came up with our robo-advisors. And these are the very beginning stages for us as we move more into providing kind of affordable and accessible financial services for everyone. Kananga Digital Investing launched back in February. Tremendous engagement with a lot of customers. We're reaching almost half of our deposit base, almost half of our investors today are actually from the B40 category, which we view as a fantastic step in the right direction to help bring more financial inclusion to all Malaysians everywhere.
You know, very recently, Kananga launched the Kananga Digital Investing Initiative for KDI. I want to learn more about this.
Sure. So when we were looking at how do we reach more customers and give them all the knowledge and experience that Kananga has in investment products, we kept asking ourselves, how can we make it simpler and simpler and simpler? We got it down to actually just 3 questions. We asked you, what's your age? How long do you want to invest? And what's your risk appetite? And from that, we'll calculate 5 different portfolios, 5 different investment ideas for you. You pick one, deposit your money starting as low as 250 ringgit, and it goes forward. And it will do a selection across a whole range of different asset groups, different asset products that you can invest in, and provide you kind of a bespoke portfolio that helps you achieve some of your long-term goals for finances.
And of course, we also want to understand the take-up of the product, the kind of reception the product has from the market, basically what kind of progress that we can see right now.
Sure. Actually, I was just looking at the numbers. I was actually blown away. So we have launched on 15 February. It's been about 6 weeks now or so. We're already rapidly approaching 100 million assets under management, 100 million AUM. For us, that's a tremendous market penetration in just such a short time.
Ian, let's talk a little bit more about the concept of robo-advisor, because I've been talking about this for quite some time now on my show. The idea here is that robo-advisors tend to pick stocks that are, I guess, higher performing. They can shed stocks that would be showing a downward trend, and many others. But this basically fuels the kind of blue chip stocks plus extra and ignores some kind of companies that might have real growth potential, some kind of companies that might have strong fundamentals, but not necessarily have that kind of attention or market share or the kind of awareness from the market. So as a person like myself, I do invest in a few robo-advisors. I would like to invest in many more companies, but at the same time, I don't have the luxury or the time to stock pick and try to go through every analyst report when it comes to equities in all the markets that I want to invest in. How do you intend to widen the kind of conversation in terms of what investors can get their hands onto, particularly on companies that might not necessarily be getting picked on by robo-advisors, but they are perhaps quite important to be looked at when it comes to investing? Where's the balance in this?
Yeah, that's actually a fantastic question. It's also one of the most challenging when you do look at robo-advisors. I'll start first by saying not all robo-advisors are the same. It's a bit like Coca-Cola and their secret recipe. You know, no one actually tells you what's inside and exactly how the robo-advisor works. Because it is our special capabilities, our special learnings, and our special models we use to develop the robo-advisors. But what we do, I can talk a bit around what we at Kananga do. What we do is we have a basket of different types of investment options. We look at exchange-traded funds primarily, domiciled in the US, but investing globally. And that mix gives us a wide range that we can directly invest in. Now, we pick ETFs because they are a very good way to access a large, diversified portfolio with a single investment. And then what we do, our robo-advisor does every single day, is it analyzes about 1,000 different data points to identify which ETFs are on the up and which are kind of on the down, if you will, and manage the portfolio from that perspective. You raised a really good question. How do you get direct exposure to some like really hot and interesting companies? especially if you're using ETFs, you buy a basket, you don't buy a single one. So what we do, instead of just investing, say, blue chips, or just investing in, say, total market indices, for example, particularly, say, only investing in the US, we don't do that. We look at different geographies. The US is one of them, Europe is one of them, of course, Malaysia is definitely one of them as well. We look at different types of bonds and other fixed income instruments to help balance the portfolios. We even look towards things like commodities like gold or oil, as well as real estate and even currency futures as well. And we bundle all this together into a very simple and easy to use product. We feel that way gives us gives our customers access to a whole range of different investment ideas, different investment classes, by picking an ETF that covers, say, a geography or a special type of asset class. And that's how we hope to actually capture more of those kind of undervalued, underweighted companies who are definitely on the rise. But just not picked up by the traditional robo-advisors that are really focused on just the cream of the cream, the top, the NASDAQ, basically.
That's my conversation with Ian Lloyd. Of course, if you want to watch the whole shebang, just head on to astroawani.com. You can view the whole entirety of the interview there as well. We'll go for one more short break. When we come back, we'll conclude our conversation on the week ahead. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the week ahead. We conclude our final story of the day, which shall look at how the country's economy is going to pick up, and perhaps even one kind of angle that was brought in by the economist Carmelo Ferlito of CME. He was arguing why monetary policy should not avoid market price deflation. We've also seen how the arguments that was made by CME, which shows that the results of such policies, which were not a reaction towards COVID-19 per se, but to the harm created by stay-at-home orders, can be summarized as follows, as 5 points. Excess money supply generating inflation, that's first point. Second point is price inflation. While the economic crisis, price deflation should be favored. The third is, of course, GDP is still below 2019 levels. The fourth is fragile recovery resting on government consumption and government-led private consumption. And finally, a non-friendly ecosystem for investments. This is why they argue that monetary policy should not avoid market price deflation. However, there's also that whole argument that there is a lot of uncertainties right now in the market, despite the fact that we've seen how COVID boosters are actually helping to push down severe cases of infection of COVID-19. We've also seen how children, particularly kids, is actually picking up the numbers on complete doses, or at least 2 doses. All this is actually still trying to negate or trying to bring down that whole notion of susceptibility and risk factors resulting from COVID-19 spikes. But that doesn't take away the fact that risks do still persist, particularly when it comes to the national harm from COVID-19. So here's the conversation that we've had on the station on this matter. Take a look into the kind of deep dive that we did for this show. Perhaps this could paint a good picture of what's going to come in the week ahead.
Ya, sebetulnya living with COVID ini satu hal yang we refer to our history of the pandemic, ya. Karena when people ask when will this end, I mean the pandemic will end, actually they are asking about the social ending.
Yeah.
In other words, the end of pandemic can occur not because a disease has been vanquished, but because people grow tired of panic mode and learn to live with the disease. That's what we learn from our history of this pandemic. And something similar was happening with COVID-19 now. As we have seen in the debate about the opening of the economy, the social aspect, border, loose restriction, many questions about the so-called end of this pandemic are determined not by medical and public health data, but by socio-political processes. This is what the majority of countries now refer to. So, because as we know, if we refer to the current research of the COVID-19, the many virologists, many immunologists from around the globe already say that generally speaking, viruses include like coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, that are highly contagious, like Omicron now, meaning that they spread really well from one person to the next. So they say it may never die out on their own because they are so good at finding the new people to infect. So that's the virologists and many immunologists around the globe find regarding this virus of the SARS-CoV-2. So then the end of the pandemic is not the end of this virus. So it's the end of an unsustainable impact of on health system. So based on those statement, I mean, from the scientists now, including me, who also involved with this global discussion. So it's mean now in transition, we try to learn to live with COVID, but with minimal impact, minimal detrimental consequence, atau minimal sekali negatif efeknya. Kita tidak terganggu masalah ibadah kita, tidak terganggu masalah perdagangan kita, karena kita sudah menerapkan yang disebut dengan precaution, health precaution yang artinya memakai masker dan lain sebagainya, termasuk vaksinasi. Itulah yang disebut dengan berdamai atau berdampingan with COVID-19. Dan it is also include we have to improve our quality of indoor air quality in indoor by, let's say, putting maybe HEPA filter, or maybe put more ventilation and increase our circulation, our air circulation. Jadi ini tidak hanya berpaku atau only to the behavior, tapi juga in infrastructure. We change our infrastructure, seperti bagaimana when we deal with cholera disease. The cholera disease is waterborne disease. So at that time, what we did, I mean, our ancestors did, is when we improve the quality of our water. Jadi tidak ada penularan lagi melalui air, karena air tahu masyarakat sebelum memasak, dididihkan, airnya bersih dan lain sebagainya. So the same thing should be also applied to this COVID-19, because COVID-19 transmit to the air. So the air quality, the quality of air, especially indoor, should be strengthened. Itu jadi yang namanya transisi itu banyak aspek. Semua aspek dilakukan penyesuaian.
All right. Thank you very much for staying on with us. If you've missed any part of this show, just head on to astroawani.com. Look for NOTEPAD. You can also look for the week ahead. You can also look for Agenda Awani. We've had a lot of resources over the past week and in the week to come. We've also seen how the kind of conversations will take place over a plethora of issues. It's fasting month. Let's enjoy the holy month. But of course, we're also trying to see how we can benefit from this month of reflection in trying to plot our next moves in the days and weeks to come. Until then, thanks very much for watching. Stay on with us on Astro Awani.